What is going on, friends? In this lesson, I will explain what you need to know as a backend engineer using Django and Django REST framework. Django is a web framework written in Python. As a web framework, it allows you to serve incoming requests from different clients. At a high level, Django follows the MVT architecture, model, view, template. The model refers to how you structure and define your database tables. You can create relationships between tables using one-to-one field, many-to-many field, and foreign key. When a request comes into the application from a client, the first action the backend takes is to check if there is a match for that URL. If there is no match, a 404 error is returned to the client. If there is a match, the view assigned to the URL is called. Views in Django can be class-based or function-based. Within a view, you can perform any necessary operations and then return an HTML template to the clients. Within a Django project, you can have multiple apps, each performing specific functionalities. Once you create an app, you need to register it in the project's settings file. This informs Django about the app. Let's look for the settings file, settings.py. The settings file contains configurations for the entire project. In this file, you will find settings for the database, the secret key, and other project-specific settings. Now, let's talk about signals. You use signals when you want to trigger an event from a model after a specific operation. For instance, you may want to send a welcome email to a new user. In this case, a signal can be used to automatically trigger the email after the user is created. Examples of signals include pre-save, post-save, post-delete, pre-init, and so on. Next on my list are the commands commonly used in Django. Django admin start project name is used to create a new Django project. Python manage.py starts app name is used for creating an app within a project. Create super user, make migrations, migrate, dump data, and load data. Django admin is a backend interface that allows you to easily manage the data and the content within your Django applications. It provides a user-friendly interface where you can create, list, update, and delete records. You can also use it to manage users and perform other administrative tasks. If you want a Django model to appear in the admin interface, you simply need to register such models, admin.py. First, you need to import the model. Then you register the model in the admin. Now, let's talk about Django REST Framework. Django REST Framework is a library used for creating web APIs in Django. While you can create APIs with pure Django, DRF provides many conveniences and features that make the process more efficient and robust. Remember that Django follows the MVT architecture. This means that in the views, we typically return an HTML template to a web browser client because web browsers understand HTML. It becomes problematic if we need to communicate with other clients, such as mobile apps, desktop apps, or hardware devices because they don't understand HTML. So we should send data in a format that the clients can understand. One common solution is to use formats like JSON, which are more suitable for these types of clients. If we intend to use pure Django to send data in JSON format to the client, we can use the JSON response class. However, using a package like Django REST Framework makes it easier to build REST APIs. DRF introduces a concept called Serializer. This means your data models and views remain intact. Serializers serve two purposes. First, you use serializers to validate incoming request data. For instance, if a user wants to log in, you may require them to send an email and password. To check that this information is provided correctly by the client, you can use a serializer to validate the data sent to the backend. If you take a look at this example, the serializer used for this view is login serializer. This means that the user must send both email and password when interacting with this API. Now let's try to send a request. Login, try it out. Now let's omit the password. Let's send the request to see what happens. As you can see, it throws an error saying the password field is required. When incoming data is passed into the Serializer class, you can call the isValid method to check if the data is valid. The second use case is to convert Python objects into a format that the client can understand. In the views, we use Django ORM to query objects from the database. The client cannot interpret Python objects, so we need to convert Python objects into a format that the client can understand. Serialization is the conversion of Python objects into a format that the client can understand, such as JSON. What we did on this line is called deserialization because it involves converting incoming request data into a Python data structure that the application can work with. Once your API is ready, you can easily connect different clients to it to use the data. Next, let's talk about API documentation. Documenting your API involves creating comprehensive information about how to interact with your API. This documentation is essential for developers who will use or integrate with your API. API documentation should include the routes, HTTP methods, request and response types, authentication and authorization details, response codes and messages, rate limiting, and so on. In this project, we use DRF Spectacular for the API documentation that can be found in the installed apps. DRF Spectacular. I have videos on my channel where we use pure Django and DRF to build projects. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thanks.